one of them, he was in the parking lot and we were talking about the back door and how safe it was and how much money we had spent to make the front safe, but other places were so vulnerable. Now, I have to get straight. I don't want anybody to be in danger. If it costs $1 million to keep our people safe, then let's spend it. But the front is just a facade because there's so many vulnerable places in this building. You, Arthur, I almost called you Anthony for some reason. Arthur, you quoted a price of 11,000 plus for the front, remember?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's somewhere around 10 is what I was instructed. Yes, ma'am.
Well, according to our mayor, it was less than half of that. That doesn't sound reasonable. One of you is wrong. And as a taxpayer, I would really like to know how much really was spent on it.
I think the 10, 11,000 was what we had designated for. If that was spent, yes. If not, no. So that was the amount that we appropriated for that area.
Correct.
I think that's with the confusion.
Can also remind everybody this is not a debate session, please. So,
Well, it's not a debate session, but I did want to know the number.
we have a front office that anytime you want to know anything, you can come right on in and ask. It's Freedom of Information Act. You can FOIA stuff, then that's fine. If they can't get it to you then, they'd be glad to.
Okay. I had mentioned that since the change, it was not as friendly a place as it had been in the past. And I was told that the people that worked there weren't there to talk to me. They were there to work. So now I know why I don't feel like it's as friendly as it was in the past. I also mentioned that the town manager was very vulnerable, and I was told you had a panic button and that the ladies would up front would hit the panic button and she would be warned. When we walked in, there was nobody in the front. So my point is, we have a kitchen that needs to be refurbished. We have other things in the county that money could have been spent on. It's too late now, but I just feel I have to give my opinion on what I think is right and wrong. And that's one thing. It's a Band-Aid, and it makes the people up front feel comfortable, then I guess it's worth it. But with all these glass doors, I'm sorry, I think the money could have been better spent.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Bonnie Cannon, South Main Street. I thank you for the opportunity to stand here before you tonight, and I have several things on my mind, of which number one, I have a video here on my phone that occurred August the 17th in the town of Bowling Green. I was very disappointed to see no town officials next door to me at the Dickinson House, which dates to 1828. The original fishtail metal roof was removed off of that house. And I videoed it and I've had it here. I'm just disappointed. It's like, aren't you interested in the historic integrity of this town, the history? I was just disappointed there was nobody there. I stood there and just watched these guys take that roof off that home. It's amazing. I mean, it's saved, yes, but that is a significant event in my life, in my mind, and I think it should have been acknowledged. 1828 house, there was nobody there. I'm disappointed, and I do hope that y'all will certainly keep up with the historical integrity this town has had over the years, and I would like to see it continue, because that was a significant thing in my book. Number two, I know y'all have a big agenda item tonight at the end of your agenda about the trash. And I just want to say that, yes, it is a huge issue, and I would like to be removed from it because it's not benefiting me. I still run to the dump. And number two, once a week is not enough. You eat crabs and see how they smell in your yard for 1 week. That's why I don't do it. If I do, I have to go to the dump. You cannot leave trash of that nature in your trash can for 1 week. Trash needs to be dumped at least 2 or more days a week in hot weather. And I think this company is terrible that's doing the trash pickup now. So y'all need to consider that. Now, like, as far as I'm concerned, do away with it. I go to the landfill anyway. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anybody else like to come up and speak? All right, hearing none, seeing none, closing public comments. Open up members' comments. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? All right.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. Real briefly this time, thank you all for speaking. And yes, we'll definitely be getting to that item at the end of the agenda there for you, Bonnie. I just wanted to thank some of the staff for helping me to get some of the records that I've been trying to accumulate over time, working with the Planning Commission and trying to support some documentation for the water planning. So I just, when I have good relation with them, getting that info, I just want to make sure that I thank them for doing their part. And also, I had some conversations with some of the residents lately, so I just want to thank those residents that reach out to talk to their representatives. Had some good phone calls. And that's all I got today.
All right, anybody else before we move on?
I got a special note. I got an email from a citizen on Maury Avenue that was tripped and got, not severely, but got some scrapes, cuts on Maury Avenue on the sidewalk. So again, I've reached out to Kyle Bates at VDOT. And again, he tells us that it's not a priority because people still park on the sidewalk over there. And as long as people are parking on the sidewalks, VDOT does not want to put the money out. It's on their low priority list. I relayed all this to the citizen on Maury, and she in turn turned around and emailed VDOT, which the letter was a little harsh. So we'll see what comes out of that, and I'll keep you posted.
All right. Moving on to staff reports and presentations. We have a water supply project update. Josh, you got anything for us on that? Everything going all right?
I had talked with Allison about that this is a placeholder item as we move forward with the greater plan, like working with Stantec and whatnot. So there wasn't anything tonight is what she had told me.
All right, and see Lisa has handed out some stuff. Lisa Stevens, Harvest Festival update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, staff, and members of the community. I'm here to give you a really quick, brief update on the October 15th Harvest Festival. Before you have 3 documents. One is a packet. The second one is the proposed map with information to be handed out at the Harvest Festival. And the third is a very early draft, so please do not press that out. It is just a draft for the Oktoberfest that's going to be given to our shops here on Main Street. But to start with the Harvest Festival update, just a reminder that everything in orange is new. So I'm not going to highlight all the rest of the items that's been reported before, but we are in progress of right now. Advertising is in full swing, and we will start seeing posters around town and posters in our local businesses to promote the Harvest Festival. Sponsorships are continuing as we're still reaching out to members of the community and businesses to find additional sponsorships. And we have added since we have confirmed, I know we had on here the pony rides, we have confirmed them, as well as a mechanical bull. So that's going to be super exciting. If you flip to the second page of your packet, it has the financials that I do have to make some changes to that financial sheet. So if you have a pen with you, it is going up, which is good, versus going down. So the line that says vendors under revenues, when the financial sheet was made, we didn't have all the vendors that have come in since today's date. So we're going to add $1,235 to that vendor, which brings that total from $3,755 to $4,990. So $4,990 is that new total line, which brings your total from $8,035 to $9,270 is the revenue that we have received and is promised from local businesses and vendors thus far, which brings your encumbrances balance. If you look at all the encumbrances, this is right now in the big yellow box. Nothing has been spent to date out of the checking account or out of the town money. This is all money that's promised out, and that total is still there and is correct. But the total balance at the bottom was $24,180, but now it's $25,425. So if you're following along with me, that total subtracts the encumbrances from our main balance and all the income revenues that we've received. And that gives us our balance that we're at, which is still above the budgeted amount, which I'm really excited about in September. But September is a spending month, so that will go down. The rest of the attachments that you have are the vendor trackers. This is just so you can see what vendors are so far coming in, and the car, bike, truck, and truck tracker that's attached. Does anybody have any questions on any of that report?
Yeah, Lisa, how much do you expect to get off of the car, truck, and bike? I mean, right now, we've only received $30 in applications. How much more do you think is
Yes.
come in?
So that is more of an on-site location. Most of the guys and ladies that bring vehicles will wait and register on-site that day due to the fact that if it rains, they don't want to bring their cars out, so they don't want to lose money. We do have an extra fee if they register it's a $5 additional charge if they register at the event. I do have the numbers. I don't want to quote incorrectly. I believe it was about 4,000 that was brought in with the car show. I could be wrong. It might have been 3. I can't remember right off the top of my head. I did see that number, so I do project a good amount. I have talked to a couple of the car, bike, and truck people who have come before, and they said they wait and register on site. So I assume that there will be either a 5-car show or a 100-car show. But we're just going to cross our fingers on that, and hopefully people are listening and they're going to register. We have extended the date. If anybody is interested in still being a vendor, today was the last day to get their packets in, but most people, like myself, are still considering. So they have until the 14th of this month to still turn in a vendor packet or a nonprofit or a business. If anybody still would like to be a vendor, those vendor packets are going out on the 15th of this month, and then we'll have to evaluate if anything comes in after that, how we'll proceed to get them a space.
Lisa, on sponsorships, is Viola still working sponsorships, or?
I have touched base with Viola. She took a new job in our county, and so her time is limited right now just due to the fact that she's been working very hard on her new job. So we are still reaching out. I'm still sending 5 to 6 emails a week and making some calls. I don't know if it's processes of going through their boards and things like that, or if it's just a bad time of the year. We have been reaching out. I've made 2 calls today, and they are getting back with me. So I'm still crossing my fingers that we've got some businesses that will support us.
And per board's vote, $3,000, Caroline County?
Yes, a letter has been sent to Caroline County. It's an annual amount that the Board of Supervisors donates to the Harvest Festival. So the Caroline County Administrative Office reached out to me and asked if I would send a letter to request the annual money. So I did send that letter to them for the $3,000. So, but it has to go to board. The board has to approve that. So if the Board of Supervisors does approve that $3,000, that's what that is for.
And have you gone outside the county for any sponsors?
Viola has sent things outside of the county.
And the industrial center down near Ruth Glen?
Yes, we've touched
MC
base.
Dean, et cetera.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask a quick one. I kind of like the idea of that mechanical bull, but can you tell me a little bit about the person providing that? Like, you know, they have their own liability insurance and all that good stuff?
They do, because I wouldn't have it unless they did. It will be, it is the same lady who has our pony rides, and she will have, she has insurance, and the people that will be running it are certified to run it. And so she actually had it at the Strawberry Festival in Ashland this past summer as well, and I saw it. Very professionally run, very safe for the kids. She had kids on it. I watched them. They were going very slow for the children, a little faster for the adults. But it's very protected. And so I feel real comfortable with her providing that.
So it's a variable one that can kind of go 0 to 11 depending on who's on it then.
Yes.
Great. Okay, might have to
So
try it.
jump on.
Thanks.
Yes.
Lisa, down here in the box, in the yellow,
Yes.
B1015 advertising, if
Oh.
decided by 9/1, do we need to make a decision on that? Or how
Yes,
does-
I'm glad you mentioned that because I have that paper right here and forgot to mention that. I did want to get your blessing or see how you felt about this. I'm not a big spender, but I do know that advertising is important. This is a local gentleman that has reached out to us for B101.5, said we have in numerous years spent money to have a lot of advertisement on the radio. The first figure that he provided, I wasn't very comfortable with. I thought it was a lot of money. I do know radio spots are great, but I also know that a lot of our clientele doesn't listen to the radio anymore. They stream music. And so not that the radio is not important. I really value that avenue of media. But for the Harvest Festival, I wasn't really comfortable with that figure. I asked him to renegotiate a figure. I talked to Allison. She said, let's look at $500. The first one was over $1,000. And so $500, he acted as if that wasn't going to be a viable amount for what he could do. So that 700, I'm sorry, I didn't wear my glasses today, but is it 85? 85 is what he quoted me as pretty much the lowest we can go for advertising and for the spots of the air. It'll be for the week before the Harvest Festival. I wanted to see your, 785, it gives us 20 total of air minutes, 20 total of air, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m., and then 13 total to air. So 46 total ads airing on WBQB for 785. October 5th through October 14th, a week and a half prior to. So I put that in the encumbrances because if you feel obliged to want to consider doing advertising on the radio, that would be the cost.
Lisa, okay, yeah, the number I had heard was 1650 being the original number that you were quoted. And in the discussion with Allison, we had apparently spent 500 in the years prior. So that was like an over triple amount just for this year.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely agree. Trying to get that negotiated down was the way to go. But so you gave us the 46 total ads and this was 785. Being that that's half the 1685, is it the same amount of ads that you were going to get at 1685, or is that cut in half as well? Like, is this a
It's
deal?
cut in half.
or is
It was
this-
about 90.
Okay, so it's
versus
not
the
really.
48, so
it's
you
not a
cut it in
deal. It's just half the amount for half the price.
Right.
Okay.
So at where I stand, when I wasn't comfortable with the first original price, I asked Allison her opinion because I didn't want to not proceed if the town council members felt that advertising was extremely important. So I wanted to kind of ask your opinion on the advertising before I spent $785.
Do we know
Is
how
the-
many ads aired in years prior?
I have no paperwork on any
Okay,
years
'cause
prior.
I'd be curious, like,
Except for what he provided, which is, he said, and this was Lance, who is a community member. He stated that we had, that what he gave me at first was what we had done in years prior.
Did they always use this radio station in years prior, or are there others? I mean, there's
I believe
tons
this
of
is what we
others.
used.
This is the one for advertising. Now, years prior, I do know just personally attending the Harvest Festival, 93.3 was on site doing some, WFLS was on site doing some, which I have reached out to WFLS because that was a comment made by B101.5 is that they don't come on site, because I asked them,
Right.
would they be willing to give us a benefit if they were to come on site as one of our vendors and for free. And he said that they would not cross over because 93.3 usually does that. Again, I didn't have any paperwork on that, so I went ahead and reached out to 93.3 to see if they wanted to do that on-site advertisement for themselves as well as the Harvest Festival, but they have not responded to date.
Have you reached out to 95.9?
I have not. But I can if that's the will of the board.
I would say that spending 50% more than the past to get 50% less would be hard to swallow.
Well, we don't know what we spent in the past, do we? I think that's the question.
No, Allison told me 500 every
Oh,
year.
it was? Okay. I know Lance, and I feel like I mean, he's a businessman. And, you know, was part of what the Freelance Star, their deal. So, I don't know what other ways you're advertising, but my experience on events is that you do need to utilize all sources. You don't assume that everybody does Facebook. And I feel like in this town, we have a hard time getting the word out. So I also feel like the population that you are seeking for this kind of event, that those are the radio stations that a lot of them are going to listen to. So personally, I don't think we need to rethink everything that we're doing this year. I think some of the old stuff we did was good. And I personally, if I would rather help support a community member who has a great reputation in this field, and he really does know what he's doing. And yes, advertising is expensive. I mean, try doing something on the computer. I mean, it is. So personally, I think I'm in favor of doing whatever it takes. And I think radio is good if you want to branch out in different stations. But this is one that I think has been around for a long time. There's still a lot of people.
Reluctantly,
Thank you.
I think I do have to agree with you. Because another aspect of this is we have a lot of vendors and potential vendors that are used to the way that we've been doing it for years. And so they're going to have a certain expectation on their part that we do proper advertising. I don't like what I just said of, spending more for less, but they didn't know that when they submitted all their applications. It's not that much more. You did good in negotiating, at least finding that different tier to go for. So it's $285 more than we've been spending. I'd like to think that we're saving in a lot of other areas.
I think it's important too, as far as 101.5, draw out of Fredericksburg, you're going to draw a big market. I mean, it's not just something that's going to be local advertisement in Caroline County. It's going Fredericksburg and beyond. And I know a lot of people in the past from Fredericksburg, they're wanting a way to get away. They come down here to the Harvest Festival, a lot of them to the car show, whatever. So I think we should do the advertisement.
Thank you.
Lisa, have you thought about the Facebook advertising? Are you going to do that also?
Yes, and I'm getting ready to talk to the first week of October. We're going to do a social media blitz where we're going to really take the entire week, 7 days, Sunday to Saturday, just to highlight all of our sponsors as well as our vendors that have signed on with some of the pictures of their crafts they've sent in that they do for their booths, as well as our local businesses. We're going to do an entire media blitz to really get people thinking once we hit October. Thank you.
One other thing, Lisa, when they do the advertising, can we have them say certain things? Because 3 of your bands you got in here are big bands, and people around the area follow them. So if they mention Chris Ryan or Crowfoot Bottom, that's going to bring in that crowd that likes to go see them, which will be spending money for food, other things that are in town.
Yes.
So can we specify what they say? Like mention them, well, Crowfoot Bottom's playing at this time, or is it a limit, or is it just a script that they're going to read and that's it?
Well,
He
they
did
will,
provide a script, but I
They
can
have
check.
their own Facebook pages and their followers, like you say. And if you go to their pages, they will advertise on there where they're going next. And they usually have a nice layout So they'll probably most likely put on there for the fall festival that a nice advertisement. But we can reach out to them and see what they plan to do with that. But yeah, that's one way of getting it out. Because they did it, you know, when they were coming to Bowling Green.
And I can probably talk to Lance too, and if we, since it seems like a consensus is that we're probably going that route, we can talk to him about if we can adjust. I'm not sure if he can do that, but he did provide a script.
All right, if it pleases council, I don't know if y'all want to do a consensus or if you want to put agenda item 14 down at the bottom, and we can further discuss giving her money and how much to advertise and vote on it. Or if you just want to give her a consensus right now, that's fine.
You don't have to give me any money. You already have.
Yeah, we already allocated the money.
I already have the money to cover it. I just need to know if that's what you want to advertise, if that's how you would like to advertise. I
Okay,
mean,
well-
by putting it on the encumbrances, I feel confident about the spending that amount of money. But I wanted to make sure that that's what the town wanted to see.
All right, so do you have that answer? The town wants you to advertise or what? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
Yes?
Be a yes for
Okay.
me.
Sounds good.
All right, you got it.
Okay, I got a bunch of head nods, so I'm going with it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Lisa. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Recovery Act project and funds. Allison's not here. Oh, yeah, sorry, but I meant to tell everybody and out there in TV land that Allison is out of town all this week. She will not be here tonight. So moving on, Planning Commission updates. Do we have any Planning Commission updates?
I'll just say again that Planning Commission's been kind of discussing, updating on the water situation. That the last one we discussed the engineering firm with Stantec about what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be bringing back. We were able to accumulate some extra numbers to get some more data-driven factual stuff under the hood. You may remember that Stantec said they're going to do multiple modeling for the engineering to see, certain gallon amounts, what that will impact with. So we were discussing a little bit of what the Planning Commission's input on certain targets of that would be. We're obviously going to have to wait for Stantec to come back, but just trying to have some knowledge, under the hood there. And anytime that any of you all have any questions, feel free to contact me. I now have, I think, all the data that would be relevant now. I finally have all the usage, the actual usage data going back years, so I can support most interpretations of that data now. What did I say? There are some comp plan updates coming soon from the Planning Commission, and to support some of the action that council has taken to get those, particularly that rezoning on Broadus, to get that conformed to the comp plan. That'll be coming soon. And there should be another rezoning request coming to the council in the next month or two. That ought to do it.
Just to add to that, the Planning Commission would like to invite the town council to a joint meeting. If we pick a couple of dates and we send it out, but we would like to have a joint meeting with council, if you'd like to do that.
All right, thank you. All right, Public Works, anybody have anything for Josh? Or Josh, you have anything new you would like to discuss or present to us?
I don't have anything new. I will be in and out a little bit, so I apologize for that. But if you call or email, just leave a message, is all I ask.
All right, thank you, Josh. Police Department, anybody have anything for the chief? Chief, you been busy?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I have been. So we did have one of our full-time people leave. I'm sure most of y'all have heard. We have had a few people apply for it, so we're doing some of the background stuff now. So hopefully we'll hear something soon.
All righty. Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for what you do, Justin.
Yes, sir.
Keep up, I know you're stretching yourself out thin, but don't do it to the point where you get sick or anything, just, you know. All righty?
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. Town treasurer's report. You might as well just do, if you got anything for the town administrator as well, just do everything then, one time.
Do everything one time. Questions first?
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. The charge for the Freelance Star, like 2,200 or what was that? $2,366 for the Freelance Star. I know they failed to put our ad in, so we couldn't have a public hearing at our planning commission. Have we asked for a credit, a waiver, or a discount, or anything?
No, I wasn't aware that they failed at posting something to go back and ask for a credit.
So it hasn't been done?
To best of my knowledge, no.
Okay. Well, we'll talk to Allison about that then. I mean,
Anybody
this
else
is-
have anything?
It's happened more than once. We're paying out the wazoo here to Freelance Star, and we have to delay our public hearings, so
Right.
I think we should
And-
get
and
a
they're
refund
not
or
cheap.
something.
And they're not cheap, is right. Anybody else, anything? All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can I go
ma'am.
back to Ms. Coyle's comment? I mean, the only other thing that we could do is consider perhaps advertising in the Richmond newspaper. You know, if we're having continued, it has to be a newspaper that is distributed in the area, so.
Thank you. You got something else?
I had two items. I wasn't sure if this was the time to address them or not.
All right, what's that?
One of them was in, I think it's still in the packet.
Yeah, those would be later.
Yeah.
Oh, those are
Yeah,
later.
those are new
Wait on
business
that?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep, we'll come to that then. All right, consent agendas. Do I have a motion that we accept items 9 and 10 as they are?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull number 9.
You know, I asked a while back, if we have problems with these things, try to get with staff ahead of time. I know these were out early,
We,
so try to, but go ahead, I got something wrong with the minutes. Want to pull that one?
well, it's September and this was for July. I'm just checking because we had stated the corrections in August, but I don't see them reflected here if it's the same one. Where I needed to be added to the members present.
Just say, hold on a second. You're looking for the amendments from the last minutes that we had talked about last meeting. Is that what I heard you say?
Correct. It was for the July 7th, which
Right.
is attached in here, which we corrected in August, but it's still reflecting without the change that was provided.
Trish? Yeah, because I think, didn't we move the minutes to this meeting to be adjusted, fixed, right?
There was changes
Right.
I needed and Arthur needed. The changes Arthur needed didn't get put on here. The ones that I did seem to be reflected, though. Sorry, Arthur, I didn't notice that got left off.
All right. That's what I'm saying. Some of these things is, you can get better answers right then.
Well, it's interesting.
And get corrections done too.
His votes are on here, though. It just doesn't show him as present at the beginning. We could probably just pass these with amending that he was present. Yeah. So all your votes are accounted for.
All
Yeah.
right, so what are we gonna do with them?
I mean, there's two other things that I see which we can add, but I'd say we pass item number 9, minutes from July 7th, 2022 meeting, pending the corrections get made after, and that would be for the present list, and then also consistency on the roll call votes.
Okay, so you're requesting that item 9 be pulled from the consent agenda?
No, I think
I
he said
did
vote on
initially,
it.
but then they asked to make a motion to pass it with the changes being reflected after the fact, so
I'm just confused.
myself too. I mean,
Well-
I asked to pull it and then we asked to move forward with it, reflecting the changes after, so I was making a motion to do that.
I think if Mr. Hooley wanted to pull it, that's his right to do so.
Yeah, well, you're right, and that's why we're discussing it.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure what you want to do with number 9. Is any of the minutes correct?
So if he pulled it, have you voted on the bills?
No, we have not done anything yet.
Okay, so vote on that, vote on the consent agenda, and then you go back to the minutes.
Right, well, all right, let's move on to item number 10. Do I have a motion to accept the bills?
Second.
Got a first by Ms. Gaines, got a second by Mr. Voigt. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, nay? Hearing none, it passes 100%. All right. Now we're back to number 9.
All right, Mr. Hooley, so the first set of minutes, the July meeting,
Yes.
what changes are there? Just you being present?
I would say to do that, and then I would say to make the roll call votes consistent to reflect all members of council.
Yeah, the unanimous ones are 6-0. They need to be 7-0.
Correct.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, Ms. Gaines was absent, so that
I'm
is
just saying
correct.
that some of them say that, some of them
Okay, look,
don't, but that's fine.
you're there, you're there, you're there, you're there. Andrea, would a motion something like to the effect of ensuring that Mr. Hooley's presence and participation is correctly reflected? Would that work?
Is it acceptable to have just a general statement like that?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that work for you?
We're just speaking on July or both of them?
Just July right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. And
Okay.
Okay,
Can I
then
make a motion to accept the,
That's
what I
fine.
said? That your presence and participation be reflected.
Correct, just in July.
Yes, that'd be my motion.
Okay, so,
I'll second.
all right. Now, this is for all of 9, correct?
No, sir.
For July's minutes.
Okay. We have a motion. I got a first by Jeff. I got a second by Mr. Hooley. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, hearing none.
Moving to August,
Yes, sir.
same thing. And then also, we're missing one member under there also. Is that correct in saying that?
I didn't understand.
I'm saying we're missing one myself again, so it needs to be added to August also.
Oh, so same thing.
Same scenario.
Okay, I can make the same motion for ease of copy paste. I'll move to accept the August minutes with the update that Mr. Hooley's participation is noted and his presence.
Second.
All right, got first by Mr. Voigt, second by Mr. Hooley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion passes with no nays. All right. Moving on to 11. Conversation on Google and Microsoft Office. JJ, that's you again. Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Are we on now? Yeah, the staff would like to move away from Gmail as our prime source of sending emails and go to Outlook, just to gain a whole lot of productivity that we lose now. Because right now we work for email. We don't have email that works for us. And we're also going to be gaining a whole lot of efficiencies with our new software, the efficiencies we just gained with Census Analytics. And both of those programs use Microsoft products. So without Outlook being integrated, we lose all of that. We can't generate reports and immediately email them from Census Analytics or from the accounting system and stuff like that. So right now you have to save a report, put it in a folder, give it a name, go open Gmail, go find it, attach it. Whereas if we could do it instantly in seconds if we had Outlook, because they would integrate. So that's what we're trying to do, is increase efficiencies, save time, and make us more productive with Outlook. And it has a cost associated with it.
And also, you're all allowed to share your calendars, correct?
Right, calendars is a big issue. Google has a calendar feature, but again, it's one of those instances where you have to work. It's very cumbersome to figure it out. And if you receive an email, say from Keystone to set up a meeting or a training session, it's not automatic. It doesn't dump it into your calendar and create something instantly. Whereas if we had Outlook, we receive the email with an invite, it's instant. It's on your calendar. It's on everybody's calendars. You get pop-up reminders and things like that. We don't get that with Gmail.
Jackie, I don't know how much you discussed with the town manager about this. Are you aware that in our last work session, we were discussing equipment and computer upgrades and partially this subject? Did that come up?
In a work session or in
Yes, it was in one of our work sessions. So you weren't there, so I didn't know if you
No, I
were
wasn't
aware.
there, but yes, I was aware there was a discussion about it. So that's why I thought I'd throw in some extra points that probably
You
weren't
can
covered.
throw in whatever data you want, for sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you did know that we were discussing that. We were, those discussions kind of left off with the understanding that, you know, for such a full-on systems build-out, we wanted to talk with a consultant for the other aspects of it. You know, switching over to Outlook, yeah, I mean, that isolated is sensible, but it is integrated into a lot of the other systems that kind of also need to continue there. What was the, when you say there's a cost, obviously there's always a cost, but I guess that means you got a quote. Can you speak to that and then say what that corroborates with the rest of the systems? You know, for example, like the Google Drive and everything that's on there.
I didn't see an actual quote. It was just a number off the top of head from David over in IT, and he just says it's roughly maybe 10 grand.
Okay, then that's about the same
think-
quote for the entire systems upgrade.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
everything inclusive.
Yes, okay. I just, you know, with what was here, I didn't know if you were just merely saying that you just wanted to not use your Gmail, you know, login and just wanted to start using an Outlook one, so we go and get a sub server for that and just use that without recognizing the other aspects of what was going on, and, you know, that would be a little bit problematic. But if the numbers that you like, that 10,000, that's coming from David, I know that that's referencing the idea of the entire systems upgrade. So that's good. This of course isn't going to be anything we can do overnight, but you know, it was a direction thing that we were looking and heading, and we're going to need to get that consultant. But I will yield to everybody else now.
Jackie, how many people, or Tricia's here, utilize your Gmail? Who's the primary users?
Everybody in the office, and then plus the police office, station, and public works, everybody's on Gmail.
How often are you using your Gmail?
Oh, every
Do you
day.
send 50, 60 emails a day?
50 a day, no.
Trish,
Do
how
I
many
receive
emails do you
50
send a day?
Probably. Yeah, she probably sends more than I send. Definitely.
So I guess my question is, Outlook is great because everyone likes it. They think it's easier, but Outlook's an email client as opposed to Google Gmail is an email server. There's a difference between the two of them. And your advantages and disadvantages, I had a lot of questions on, because especially your limited search features for Gmail.
Yeah,
Gmail is Google. Google is one of your biggest search engines out there, so I'm kind of
But it
confused
searches
as to what you mean by
differently.
that.
So in Outlook, you can search in groups, you
Right.
can search in categories. It just opens up a whole breadth of.
And you could do
of
that in Gmail as well.
You don't find things as quickly as I do in Outlook. I've been using Outlook for decades, and now that I'm in Gmail, I hate it with a passion because I'm not as fast as I am in Outlook.
Okay, so that's a learning curve then, I guess. I use both of them. So you don't do Google Docs, you don't do Google Sheets, you don't do Google Slides, which are comparable to Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. Right now, do you utilize any of those features?
Within Google or within Microsoft products?
Gmail, yeah.
No, not in Gmail, no.
Do you utilize the calendar in Gmail? Do you use Keep Tasks? There's almost 54 apps that Gmail has. My concern
tried, it's
is
just
here
cumbersome.
is it's going to cost us a bit of change to make these adjustments. And I just want to make sure that it's being done because it's absolutely required and needed and not because of a learning curve.
It's also an integration too with the systems. So again, we're right back to, we have to go through so many workarounds to get to use Gmail versus being instant in Outlook and having a report open, say in Adobe, and be able to instantly email directly from Adobe versus opening an email, going to find it, grab the file, make an attachment, and then send. You can do it instantly from any file that you have open. You don't have to save it anywhere. You don't have to take up that server space to save files to then in turn email them.
Well, Gmail is an email server. You're not taking up the extra as opposed to your email client.
No, I'm saying
So-
if you have a file, if you have an Adobe, an Excel, a
I'm
Word,
sorry, I
whatever.
just need to interject. I think Ms. Coyle should be allowed to finish speaking.
I just want to make sure that before we go spending money on this, and I get that Keystone is not supported. However, I think you might want to check on that because they've done some upgradings with Sage 101, which is part of Keystone, and that supports Gmail. So, but I'm not 100% sure. Jeff, you might know that. I see advantages and disadvantages, but I don't see disadvantages to Outlook and advantages to Gmail. All I'm seeing here is what you don't like. And I get that because everyone wants to do things easier, but being someone who I use Gmail and Outlook, and I use them at the same time, I guess that's my confusion. I don't have, I guess, a challenge throwing my files from one place to another. Gmail uses a cloud. It's just easy. I have it on my phone. I can send it to Outlook. I could do that. So I guess I'm confused as to the advantages and disadvantages. Email analytics is, there's a lot more apps out there, and I'm just trying to figure out if that has been utilized as opposed to just go to Outlook because I don't like Gmail, because there's a cost factor, and that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a cost factor, but then we're also saving time. And to me, time is money.
Gmail is actually less expensive than Outlook.
As a total cost, yes. But again, I'm back to efficiencies and saving time and things like that. And I spend a great deal of time working around Gmail's limitations, whereas things that I could do so much faster in minutes instead of taking a whole hour doing things that I could do instantly in Outlook.
Gotcha.
That's my biggest problem.
May I ask a quick question? Curious what our overall investment in, well, really both, but specifically right now, Office is. Which version of Office do we have? Do we have 365 or do we have a perpetual license?
I'd have to check with David on that. I don't think we have 365,
Okay.
but I'll have to double check.
All right. The perpetual licenses cost more, but you don't have to pay all the time on them until you do a version upgrade. I'm curious when the last which we're on Windows 11. Do you happen to know the numerical version of Excel and whatnot you're on?
Not recalling from memory, I don't.
May be able to provide a little input on that. I know that majority of the Microsoft suite, if you have not gone to 365, is operating on the 2016 version. From what I've seen, the 2016 version, again, to me, is more user-friendly than the 365, but that's, again,
I agree with you.
opinion-based. I see some struggles with the Microsoft Outlook 365 just from usability, and I have prolonged that personally on my own. But then again, like Mrs. Cole, I'm also Gmail and Outlook, so look, I've adapted to both. But then again, that's just opinion based. What I would like to see is other localities. I can't say that I know of a locality that necessarily uses Gmail for any, I guess, product base. They may, but I guess with compatibility with Caroline, they're probably on some type of Outlook and Office suite there. But if we have Office, is I think what you're getting at, we would already have Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, correct? Is it something that we could just bring in Outlook to that, or and try to keep that cost down?
I think you're going to have to go to 365 because they're going to require you to do it anyway.
You're probably not going to start.
So, because once you
keeping
start continuing using
security
using
updates.
2016, they're going to give you a notice like I got. You can't use this anymore. And now I use 365, and it's great, but it's again.
Yeah, well, Outlook's not
the cost factor is going to be. I think that's the biggest challenge we need to discuss.
Just Outlook wouldn't be a problem. Like I was saying before, like you could set up Outlook. You could use Outlook Express right now, this minute, but it's the other integration. It's our shared servers. It's the network stuff.
Right.
That's where the Google Suites, when that got bought 4 years ago, with the phones, with the server, well, the cloud server, and some of the other aspects, the logins. Those are the things that would also need to change, or else you're just paying Google and you're paying Microsoft for the Outlook side. So we got to do everything at once, and we just need to find the right phasing of the different equipment. The laptops are fine. The desktops are a little older. Maybe we want to upgrade them. If we're going to do an on-site server versus paying a different independent cloud server instead of Google. So it's just more than just the email is the problematic part of it. Hence the trying to bring a consultant in to kind of narrow down the options. So
Right.
if we can
Gmail
find
has the capability to, I think it's called IMAP, where you can integrate it, and your Gmail will go directly to Outlook. And,
Yes.
And David talked us away from doing that, because to me that sounded like a great solution, and then he nixed that.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage that either. Speaking a little to Valerie's point of, yes, there is pretty much a Google answer to every Microsoft product, but adoption for that is far, far, far less. We can all understand that, but is there a way to do most things in Google? Yeah, there is, but it's maybe harder until it's learned. But there are other aspects in talking about the upgrades that would make sense. I can say if the only thing that was desired to change was the email client, I'd be much more hesitant about that. But because everything's distributed through everything like the phones and the cloud servers, I think there is more than enough merit to at least have the discussion on doing all the upgrades, particularly because if we're going to do an upgrade, we may as well get back onto the Microsoft stuff.
I was just going to say, I'd like to add, I'm just curious if the Microsoft Suite portion would include Teams. And I say that because of virtual meetings, and if we did set up with a vendor, just give an example, Keystone, and they wanted to have a meeting, and obviously they're not going to travel on site all the time or some type of technical support, it's easy to screen share and to conduct those meetings. So that would be the only thing. If we do go to Microsoft Office, I would advise that we look at Teams.
No, you're over 100% correct there, because the town does pay for a Zoom account right now. And we could toss that and grab that, right? And that's where
Correct.
We need to have an overall discussion on everything that we can do to save.
So can just make a motion then to table this and
Yes, you
discuss it
can.
further at our workshop, so we have some numbers and some figures.
Are you making a motion?
Yes.
All right.
I
we
make
have
a motion
And I'll
table
second it.
To table this, got a second by Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. We'll have more discussions about this. Sounds good. All right, next thing is addition to electronic lockbox services at Atlantic Union. JJ, this you again.
Am I back on? The lockbox services is actually through the same company that mails our bills now with Enco, and it's an integration with the bank. So they send the files every day, all the deposits to the bank, and then we get a file from the bank and we upload that into our accounting system, and it automatically would post all customer payments. So it's not just us and the bank. It's a three-piece. Well, I guess technically four-piece if you include the accounting system. And there's upfront costs to get started. There's one-time fees. I have the numbers somewhere. There's initial programming, licensing, one-times, scannings, remit instances, project management, and then testing and implementation. And all of those are just one-time costs. I think it's a little over 5,000, maybe closer to 6. And then after that, then we just have monthly costs. And those costs are less than what the bank would charge us to do the exact same service. So we have a one-stop shop.
What
to
is the
same company.
process now? I mean, why is this needed?
Right now, it's all manual. It's us handling checks and hand jamming them every day. This would be all automated. We would get a file, it would get loaded into the accounting system, and the payments would just post automatically. So we're increasing how quickly.
Are you all up to par now with is it Keystone that we went to with the software? Did that have a component to it?
Yes, this is integrating with that component. But they're not providing the lockbox service. The lockbox part is still a third party, just like the credit cards are a third party.
Right. So I guess I don't understand the lockbox theory. What is that? I mean, I don't understand.
So instead of payments coming here and us handling them, they go to the same company that prints our bills, and they do everything. They handle all the checks. They make the deposits, and the files get exchanged between the bank, us, and Keystone.
So how do people pay that bill?
They would,
The same
either if they're mailing them in, they now go to a different PO box. And then if we receive them, then we can also send them to the same PO box. And then people still come in the door, we can still handle those, onesie, twosie kind of payments, but the bulk of it will be handled by a third party.
So they could do it online with a credit card or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
That's different. So this is just checks. A lockbox is checks only, credit cards are something different.
If I may, Jackie, I see two things here that are kind of standing out to me, and I'd like to help with them. The material that you gave us here, excuse me, I had it upside down. It's good, but it's kind of the sales pitch that would be a pamphlet for somebody like you that's in the know and understands it fully. Like, I have some trouble following this. I think you and I already talked about this before, though, if I recall. Mm-hmm. What I would maybe propose doing, for two reasons, is if we could put together a better presentation of what occurs right now, what would occur with this, so that council and constituents can see the difference and understand it a little bit better than a bullet point thing of just how it's good. I think that could be rather helpful. But also, you did say the cost here, but I would also like to see a how we pay for it aspect, like, how we're going to outline it in the budget. So we could come back with the how we're going to allocate funds to deal with it, a better explanation for everybody. We could just stay here another 20 minutes to keep asking you questions too. And also, I am a little bit hesitant, although I know that this is your wheelhouse over here, but without the town manager present, I kind of would have liked to have all the staff present for what does constitute a change. I think it's a positive one, but I just want to be as transparent as possible to say that.
Yeah, with such limited staff, I want to build as much efficiencies as we can, and this is definitely a big one.
Seems like it.
I guess for me, you said that this solution would be less of a cost than what we're currently paying to the bank to provide the same service. So
It would be less if we went the same route with the bank. So I did two cost analysis, one going this route and the other with the bank doing everything.
Okay.
And the bank was more expensive.
And the bank was more expensive. So for me, on the request that Mr. Voigt had in reference to that, we've got that initial cost that we know you said roughly around $6,000. So if we took that, is this going to equal out versus that cost to the bank in 36 months, 48 months? You know, I'm just curious where we're going to break even at that point if we make the change, including the initial investment.
It would never break even because the monthly cost with the bank is higher.
Okay.
So Enco is 180 and I think the bank was 220.
Okay.
And so that cost, that's a perpetual cost that we would incur every single month. So every single month, the bank would be higher.
But that's if we went with the bank solution. Right now, we have no solution. So it would, okay, I understand. It would be $180 a month cost to us, providing, and so cost analysis wise, Enco's $40 cheaper. Okay, so I'm on the same page now.
Jackie, with that, it's a $40 cheaper thing, but how much less payroll would it can add up? If we had this and it was faster for you, how many hours would it free up you a week? I mean, if it's.
It would average about 3 to 4 hours a day. Not a week, a day, that we could free up and reinvest that time doing what I think are more important things.
Jackie, does the bank have an initial fee? Like the
Yes, the initial fees, the cost up were about roughly the same. They may have been 100 or 200 more because they estimate some costs. So some costs could possibly be higher or they could possibly be lower. But at the end of the day, the monthly cost is what the driving factor was.
Is the monthly cost determined on how much they process or?
No, it's just
a
their flat fee. It's just their flat fee.
Okay.
I do think it's important when we're making these decisions to think about, I mean, Atlantic Union Bank is a homegrown kind of, for me in this town, it's versus going to a third party. I mean, I kind of lean towards people that I know have delivered good service in the past. We also get a benefit every year. So I would just want us to think about those things we're making these decisions too. You know, even though it may be a little more expensive, sometimes going the cheaper route is not always the best route for, so I don't know actually there's a lot more I think I need to understand about this, but my thought on that whole piece, I just wanted to put out there.
I agree. That's why I went to them first.
Yeah.
And then I also like the fact that Enco is already printing our bills. So I felt like it was a one-stop shop. They're printing our bills and they can post, you know, our payments, our checks. So you can weigh it both ways.
Yeah.
Is it cheaper because of that? Are we getting a discount savings by bundling extra things?
If they
That
are,
was
they did
me.
put it in
That
the,
only allows 4 to be on at once.
if they are, they didn't put it in the quote.
So I'm inclined to what Mr. Voigt had said about if we can get just more information. For me, it's numbers, and I'm not seeing the cost. I mean, I get the lockbox, and I think having this is a plus. It's just added technology that we need to advance. But I don't know what the startup cost is. I don't know what the monthly fee is. I know you've mentioned that briefly, but I just need to see it all laid out. Maybe if you can put something like Mr. Voigt had suggested, and we can look at it another session, or just so we have everything on the same page.
Right. So you don't have this in there? The pricing page wasn't in there?
Oh, I don't have that.
Okay.
Nope. I don't have that. Yeah.
We only have 3 total pages.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're missing a page. Got it.
Yeah. I don't have anything.
It probably would be nice to get a breakdown of the bank's offer as well, just to.
Yes, I have it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does this have anything to do with check security also?
That too, it is part of what they offer. They definitely have a huge amount of security. They also have the scanning capabilities. So when they make the deposits for us, they also scan the checks. Right now, we don't have that capability. If somebody asks me 2 months from now, hey, I wrote you a check for $220, I have no way of looking it up. With this service, we would have the history. We could go back and research that.
Okay. Yeah, they would have to go to the bank because that goes to their statement. They would get it in their
Correct.
statement, yeah.
Do we not have a scanner?
Nope,
No,
not for checks. No,
we don't.
mm-mm. We literally take checks to the bank every day. We do not have a desktop scanner for checks.
But I mean, couldn't you scan the checks? Okay.
Yeah, that would definitely take, it's already
Now we're
3 to
just
4
adding
hours a
more
day
onto a
posting
person.
them.
I mean, we have a scanner, right? I
Wait,
thought,
we have a copier.
right,
We don't have a scanner.
okay.
Yeah. But no, the reason I was asking is just to make sure that we don't have somebody trying to cash checks that we didn't write. Remember, we had that problem, and they almost made us change the accounts
Right.
because of that. Is this the same thing for that, or is that something separate that we're doing?
That's something separate for AP. That was positive pay.
Positive,
So-
that's
So
it, yeah.
this is deposits, so two different things.
Okay. Two different things, okay. All right, so we still have to do the positive pay.
Correct.
Okay, all right. But we are doing now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I got a
right.
final thing. I want to go back to the scanner thing real quick, just because I want to point out something to support what you're saying. It's not so much the physical scanner that's an issue. Like most staff have a personal scanner that can instantly scan a page of paper. It's what else gets done when it's scanned. When you take it to the bank and you have a check scanner, you can scan the check and the software that's attached to it automatically fills out all the stuff on the other end for tracking purposes. They don't have that ability here, correct?
Right, no, we
Right.
don't.
Okay. In addition to that, I did want to ask, as far as Keystone, does this overlap in any ways that an additional Keystone module would have been able to take care of those features instead?
No, they don't have their own check scanning deposit process. They
Okay,
would
just
use a
there were a lot of
third-party.
optional modules that we could have taken, so yeah, I just want to check all the avenues. Lastly, this is checks. I know you and I have talked about credit cards before. Is there later on something down the road that Inco does that would be able to improve our credit card flow?
I'd have to ask them. I'm not sure about their credit card capability.
Okay, well, I know we've had frustration with CCs here before, so if we're going to go in a new avenue, I'd like to be able to continue growing, so that would be another thing worth looking into.
Right.
All right, I'm done.
All right, do y'all want to table this one too, get some more information?
I have one thing, Mayor. Jackie, when you're figuring out some type of a cost analysis, you need to put on there, if it takes you 3 hours or 4 hours, we need to know that. Because if you're doing that on a daily basis and it can free you up to do something else, we could be looking at roughly what, $120 a day, $100 a day over a 24-month work week period. That's a lot of money. It would pay for itself basically in 3 months.
Right, and it paid for itself by not having a need for additional staff.
Yeah. I'd like to see that put in there is all I want to do.
All right, so what do y'all want to do?
I'll
Somebody make a motion.
to table it until the October meeting.
All right,
Pending that we
Second
get
that.
more,
before you get more information?
correct, yes, sir.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
All right, I got a second by Ms. Coyle. All in favor, say aye on tabling this. Opposed, nay. Hearing none. All right, we'll table this one until next. So you got two things we got to get more information on. All right. And that's it for you. Thank you. Last item. Trash discussion. We've had this trash issue before here and discussed it. GFL bought out Shiflet, who we had, and they're buying up all the others as well. They're becoming one of the biggest ones around next to Waste Management. I think they're even getting bigger than Waste Management. Management is more into buying up landfills. And GFL is more into providing the service to get it to the landfills. GFL is having issues with the recycle. I know that's what some people are talking about. We had a conversation with AP Hill a few months back when we had a meeting in here, and what they're doing with their trash is the same thing that's going on with them. They have nowhere to take this single stream recycle. There's one plant, I think they said it was down in Charles City or Charlotte, somewhere down around Richmond area, southeast of Richmond, that takes it. They're not processing it good. They can't do it fast enough. So, and the other thing is when they put it on these barges on the leftover, which a lot of it doesn't stay here, it goes overseas. It goes on barges and it's supposed to go to China. When it gets to China, if it's a dirty load, guess what? They refuse it. Meaning dirty load, it's got a lot of other trash mixed in with it. Well, the single stream, they don't segregate that. They don't, it comes in, it goes out. So when it gets there, if they refuse it, it goes to another country, India, Taiwan, and then you don't know where it goes after that. So what the companies are doing, the same thing AP Hill had the same problem with, is they're taking it, picking it up, and throwing it into the landfill, because then they know where it is. And they're having a hard time getting rid of it. I have reached out to them. I had talked to a lady named Tammy Waite. She was supposed to have the individual get back with me on Monday. That was Friday. Well, this is Thursday. I haven't heard from them, and I have called and get no answers. So I'm going to personally go up and talk to them. All I want is an affirmative answer on why, so we know what to tell people, the real reason is for sure. It's not just something that I'm making up or somebody else is making up, and if I have to go up there in person, that's what I'm going to do. So we can try to get this resolved for the people in town so they stop talking about, why am I getting all my trash picked up at one time and not being recycled.
What do we pay? Because the community seems to feel that they are paying for recycling. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to them. I didn't see anything that stands out to me right now when I looked over the contract as where it states that they provide 2 trucks to come down here, it's just, but they do charge a lesser fee for recycling, and then you have your fee for your households as well. But yeah, that's one of the things that I want to discuss with them as well. Are they in breach of contract for that or not?
Mr. Mayor, with the buyout happening, is there any, and you may not know, Andrea, you may have to speak towards it, but is there any revision period since GFL bought out Shiflets that, we have to execute a new contract since it's a new company, or does it just go over to them? I'm curious because at that point, it may leave us an avenue at that point to exit out of the contract because of the change of companies.
Right. I didn't see anything in there about that, but the thing about it is if you exit out of it, who are you going to go with next? So I know we need to look for somebody else and see what they have.
I know the hesitation to cancel the waste contract, but and I'm shooting from the hip here, but if you look at maybe the city of Fredericksburg, I think they do it in-house. And I know that, it's something that we'd have to look at cost analysis wise.
Right.
So was the contract just assumed by GFL? Is that what happened? Okay, so there wasn't any changes to that at all?
They just bought them up.
Yeah, I get that. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss anything there.
Well, I was just going to say if and I'm shooting numbers out here. So if it's $40,000 a year for refuge pickup, all right, and we wanted to bring that in-house and we could pay somebody at a part-time rate to go around and actually pick the trash up and take it to landfill, or however we found that if there's some type of cost analysis to bring it in-house, it may be something beneficial. It would solve two problems to where households didn't and citizens didn't want to join in it. It would give them the option to remove themselves from that. And then the ones that wanted to, they could pay that fee and essentially it may cover itself. Just throwing
Well,
an
it
idea out.
becomes a logistical nightmare when you do that, because then you have people saying, well, I want it this month and next month, and then they call back in and say, I don't want it, I want to stop it. So you got the girls in the office changing around, calling up, getting the rate readjusted. We got the wrong rate now, we're paying more when we should not, because it becomes a logistical nightmare if you look at it that way.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but with a population of X amount of citizens, I mean, there's localities that are doing that in-house, and I mean, they're maintaining that, and they've been maintaining that service for their citizens in-house.
well-
They don't go to a company like GFL or County Waste.
Right, I mean, if, we can always do away with it and have the individuals get their own trash picked up. Cost-wise, it'll probably cost them more, but, I mean, that's another option down the road. You can always say, everybody fend for yourself. You want trash, call up GFI or whoever else you can get, Waste Management, and come on down here.
So when is the contract up for these guys? GFL, I don't remember.
Two
I
more?
have not seen the contract. Apparently, the mayor has. I'm
Yeah,
happy to
it's-
take a look at it.
It
but
was-
I think we got a couple more years on it. I think it
Oh, we
was,
do.
I think it was a 4-year
it was just-
contract or something.
was just
Melissa was here, so it has to be
Yeah.
2 years
This
already.
is our
I thought it
second
was
year on it.
4 years.
Yeah.
It has a max of 3 or 4 years, I thought it
Mhm.
was,
It started roughly April to May of 21.
21, because Melissa was still here.
Yeah, so yeah, I think we got, after this year, I think we got about 2 years. I believe it's 4 years. But don't hold me to that, please.
For what it's worth, the Colonial Beach and King George are all having the same problems, the same issues, not picking up certain streets, not picking up at all. It's all over. It's GFL.
But we should notify them of the issues in writing. So,
Get them to respond on the phone, even sometimes emails you might get. I mean, I've been there.
But when you call this lady and it goes to her voicemail, then it says mailbox full. Every
do-
time. I'm like,
They
oh,
do
really?
They have an office in Fredericksburg, and I'm told if you go there,
That's where I want to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you'll get some good.
Yeah. I'll get a definitive answer, and we'll reissue this. We'll rehash it out or something, see what we can come up with.
No, that sounds good. Thank you for what you're doing.
problem.
I'm
You're
sorry
welcome,
that you're
Coach.
not getting that call back.
Yeah.
We could put together some impact reports to explore the other options, tally up how many people currently pay for the service, what that revenue therefore is. Bringing it in-house would be very exorbitantly expensive because we'd have to buy the trucks and whatnot, and then you'd have to maintain an employee for it. And then you'd have to make sure that your people that are on that plan don't drop below a number that then doesn't pay for the employee. But we can come up with a few different things, what the impact of the town would be if we dropped it all together, and a few other things. But I think we'll have to go to some spreadsheets for all of that.
All right. Are we done? Because if so, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Voigt, second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to recognize y'all. Sorry. Y'all are who?
no, touch the.
Touch the gray button. There you go.
My name is Jeff Bates, and this is David Tetzloff.
I'm the general manager for Clayton Homes here in Fredericksburg. We were told we were on the schedule this evening, but apparently we weren't. But we were hoping we could have a chance to address a concern that we have. We represent the Woods family. They're trying to build a house here in town and become a citizen.
What was the name of the family?
The Woods family?
Woods?
Yes,
Thank
yes, ma'am. We got a building permit and under the understanding that we could tap into city water.
Can I get you up to the mic better so
sorry.
everybody can
How's
hear
that?
you?
Is that better?
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. We got a building permit from Caroline County with the intent of tapping into, and we were told we could tap into city water, that we just had to apply for a zoning permit, which we did. And then they came back and said, well, we don't have availability for that tap, even though there's a tap right there, right across the street. So we were told we needed to present our case to the town council and Mr. Mayor and see if we could appeal that and let the Woods family tap into that. To back that up a little bit, we had, I generated some estimates from some of our contractors to demonstrate the excessive cost that the Woods family would incur if they had to actually drill a well on that property. And candidly, the numbers came up to about $45,000 versus $6,000 if they could tap into the city water. So we're here to kind of fall on our knees and do a little begging because that would be an incredible hardship on the Woods family. And it's a family of four. With me is Rodney Whitaker. Rodney has been in this town since he was a child. The soils expert and the one that designed our septic system on that property. He could also attest to the hardship of getting a well on this property. And with that, I'm not sure what else to say except we need some support for the
And
Woods
if I
family.
could just say that I'm happy to talk with you and the town manager, but this is not something that the town council has any authority.
Okay, we were told to come tonight and present our case, and that's why we're here.
Sure.
So I would be happy to do that if we
Okay.
could. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Could you maybe tell me my next step, and I'll be happy to do that.
Well, when the meeting adjourns, I'll get your contact
Fantastic.
information.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, town council.
Where's
Okay.
it,
Yes, sir.
where's it located again in town?
On Hilldale Avenue, just off of 301. Is that right, Rodney? That's right across the street.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you're in the town limits. Right, you're not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were
That-
told to come here
that's why-
because we're
that's-
tapping into the
that's why
city
you're
water.
having- Okay, now I understand the issue.
Yeah.
Now I understand the issue.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, we are under a lot of water restrictions. So yeah, you've had to talk to the town manager again and the attorney.
Be more than happy
So,
to, yeah.
okay. All right.
Yeah, thank you for.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me address
I
you
wish
guys.
I'd known why y'all was here. Could have got you in here earlier and out, but
It's okay,
It
but thank you
wasn't
for
on
the
the
opportunity.
agenda.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for the
all right.
opportunity to talk. I'll get with you.
no problem.
Okay, have a good night.
All right, now do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Ms. Gaines, second by Mr. Voigt. All approve it, say aye. Anybody want to stay longer? No, all right, meeting adjourned.